in for it today. I'm not going to have the most popular opinion. I don't care. So I'm going to start off by saying three things. These are just announcements that I have to do. Tonight is Fallout Equestria, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 2 a.m. Come see us on Twitch. Come see Sunrise tell Stormy about the fate of Alguasil. Also, see if Martini keeps living or dying. I mean, he only has to last 4 sessions to last longer than Carl. My book is coming out, hard working on edits. Yes, this is still happening. I'm prepping it for you guys as quick as I can. Please make sure your pre-orders get in because I have to pay for publication at the end of the month. And 3, we will be starting Battletech RPG on Sunday. New characters, new setting, new system, whole 9 yards. On Twitch at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Come see what happens and see how far into the deep periphery we end up going. Now that all the shilling is done, I'm going to do what I set out to do. Battlefleet Gothic Armada is a massive step backwards on the same level as Dawn of War 3. Now, many of you want to scream at me about this being a beta, about how can I say that without playing the game all the way through? They'll fix it. They always do. There's a list. There's just a long list of defenders that will come out and scream at me for that statement. Hold your pitchforks for a moment and let me explain before you all go be keyboard warriors, because I can already hear the clickety-clack of a million keyboards around the world. Yeah, if this video gets a million views, I'd be shocked. First of all, the game goes on full release in a week. They're not going to fix all these issues without a massive delay. It's just not going to happen. Second, they aren't fixing anything I've brought up. And I'm going to bring up. This is the core game in front of us. We are only restricted from advancing past the first sector of the campaign to prevent spoiling the story before it fully releases. Second, it's a massive step backwards on every single level. But since I mentioned the campaign, let's talk about that. Now, I understand they wanted us to test out the domination mode and say how we like it. I hate it. Just straight up. If the enemy has a space station and defense turrets, they automatically win. So long as they have at least, a comparable, or even like any fleet whatsoever, they win. By the time you can get to the first point to start capturing it, they've already captured 3 points. By the time you can get to the second one, because the space station and defense platforms count for occupying the circles they stand in. Not to mention making every single mission a domination mission was boring and tedious. 6.5 hours of my life I want back. You could have just made us play a couple of them, like the first 3 or 4, and then, switch it to normal randomization. That would have been nice. But I found myself begging for an escort mission. Let me say that again. A gamer asked for an escort mission. Spending an entire 2 sectors of 2 different campaigns, 1 sector of 2 different campaigns, playing through the entirety of 5-point domination missions was not only boring and tedious for me to play, it was boring and tedious to watch. Gone were the cruiser clashes, port battles, all the exciting things that were there before, and furthermore, the battles are so fucking slow now, but I'm going to get to that. But yeah, I had to ask where the escort missions were. Something's wrong with the game when I'm asking for an escort mission. I had high hopes for this game, but then I realized during my stream today that if I'm asking for an escort mission, we have an extreme problem. The campaign AI is extremely passive on a strategic level and doesn't actively challenge you at all. They don't even bother to make a counterattack against any of your advances till 20 turns into a sector. Occasionally, you do get a warning of an attack. And you have so much time to get there, especially if you put a minefield down. You've got 2 turns. You can take ships from the opposite side of the sector and move them all the way over to the other end of the sector through the long way and get them there in time to stop the attack. The AI just relies on the passive threat counter, which goes up every turn for you to lose. This is terrible game design. The previous game, the AI actively attacked you. You had to defend. You had to go out of your way to stop them from taking certain things. And sometimes you just had to sacrifice systems with no choice. Instead of that epic campaign we had from Battlefleet Gothic 1, you're left with a blitzkrieg of rushing through to win before your timer runs out. Fuck that. That's bad. It's like playing XCOM 2, but instead of the Advent making decisions and actively moving to attack you and stuff, they're just sitting around waiting for their death counter at the top of the screen to go up or you to casually deplete it. Because, you know, we all want to see the Avatar project come to fruition, right? You're never truly challenged, and you're always left wanting more. I want more options for my ships. I want more reason to care about the new permadeath mechanic of vessels. I want my old customization back. You heard me correctly. The old customization. Port Mall is gone, and all customization options that were with it have just been stripped out. In its place, you're left with a very hollow general upgrade system for all your ships, and they're only upgraded based on their experience level, which their experience level is a pittance of upgrades. At maximum level, my ship was firing 3% faster with a 20% extra critical rating. I have no reason to keep these ships. I should just recycle them for bigger ships as fast as I can. There's no point in keeping ships that aren't bigger and badder and more effective than our previous vessels. There's just none. It's disheartening, to say the least, and completely shitty. I want the old system back. Or at least back to some degree where I genuinely cared about each ship. Where, you know, I like the permadeath mechanic where once you lose a ship, it's gone, but I need a reason to give a fuck. Other than, oh crap, I have to spend resources to get that ship back. Literally. That's it. That's it. I just have to spend resources to get a ship. I don't care that the ship I named after Miss Priss exploded. I don't give a crap because I can just replace it as soon as I have the resources. And it's like it never left. On its own, this wouldn't be bad. Like these general upgrades and way of doing things where you can change ships out wouldn't be bad. If they kept the old systems and if you got a full refund for retiring old ships, instead you get a 25% refund and they didn't keep the old systems. There's no favors. There's no unique upgrades. There's no picking individual sections of the ship to upgrade. The experience levels don't matter one damn bit at the end of the day because your little bit of extra fire rate is not going to outdo just having a full-on extra battery of guns. And this extends further into multiplayer, as you cannot level up your commander stat against battles with the AI, only against battles with other players. What? And you only get access to general upgrades, not individual ship customizations. Furthermore, individual ships don't get special abilities, only your admiral gets them, and they only get 2. I'm not making this up. This is dumb. Yes, you can flexibly change your fleet at will, but you no longer care about individual ships, and you no longer care about figuring out how to make your build work. It's a generic multiplayer system now, which feels so very much hollow compared to Battlefleet Gothic 1. Moving to the campaign mechanics themselves, the resources are based upon planets, not battle performance. No longer does it matter if you destroy the entire enemy fleet without a single loss, but rather the most basic of resource management systems of all time, that is, in the case of the Imperium, far too little, and in the case of the Necron, far too much. It's just the strangest thing I've ever seen in a game that had a very solid basis for its campaign. You had a way of timers ticking down. You had to hold on to and maintain planets to keep everything going. You were constantly trying to prevent yourself from going negative. You didn't have much of a chance to increase your gains and abilities and your productive centers. You had to just hold on to what you had, and now it's the opposite. It's a 180, and the 180 feels like I'm playing Stellaris for Battlefleet Gothic. What? Planets level up by you holding them multiple turns. If the AI takes them back, you just lose all the levels. It's just gone. All the money you spent on it is destroyed instantaneously. But instead of, you being on a threat versus the enemy fleet, you're on what's called a threat counter. Every turn, the threat counter goes up by 1. It's like they designed the campaign to not play against an AI or an enemy faction that are anything more than an annoyance. The threat counter is your real opponent, mercilessly going up each turn and only dropping whenever you complete a milestone in the campaign for that sector or you use a battle plan. The AI is simply there to be a speed bump between you and victory. It's terrible, terrible game design. You don't have the dual layer of competing with the AI and working against a turn timer. You're just working against the turn timer. The AI is a speed bump. Literally, I took a Space Marine fleet of 350 points against 2 300-point Chaos fleets, and they had space turrets, and I won. So, speaking of the AI, it hasn't improved at all. It uses the same tactics as before, staying out of range, trying to bar the player from stealth, simply moving in close and engaging in hardline broadside combat will win you the day. But it gets so much worse now with the domination mode, as the AI is programmed to stay in the point until they're claiming it, letting their ships sit perfectly still for torpedo and ramming attacks. This is just a huge, massive step backwards. I literally just would let the AI sit in a point, trying to claim it, get hit by torpedoes, and then move into the point to stop the claim and reset it, while I waited for my torpedoes to reload. I had a light cruiser kill a cruiser doing this, because the cruiser wouldn't move. And all I had to do was just keep managing the light cruiser occasionally to make sure it stayed behind the cruiser and couldn't be attacked. This was bad. Not to mention free ramming attacks in the ass where the armor's thinner. But, before the AI would go about the objective in a way that made sense and you could manipulate it, but the campaign mode with this campaign mode with only one AI in all the battles, all of them play out exactly the same. There's no need to strategize or improvise new tactics. The AI is simply stupid, trying to go after the objectives blindly while you slaughter the fleet. Occasionally they do get a win because their defense platforms or space station have automatically claimed points for them and therefore win the domination mode, not because their fleet actually beat you, but because their defense you didn't have time to go kill the defense platforms before they racked up enough points to win. This was a boring, tedious, horrific experience. The grand campaigns were just tedium. Even if I factor in having the other battles available, it only gets marginally better. It's still awful. I'm not sweating bullets trying to prevent the AI from taking back systems. I'm not working back and forth against an actual enemy. Sorry I'm hitting my desk, but it's frustrating to see a series that was good, that needed improvement, but was still good, go so far downhill so fast. This is just straight up terrible. compared to the previous game, where you constantly felt a sense of urgency rather than busy work of another attack mission in which you just come in, wreck them, and leave. Which brings up another point. The story-driven missions with voice acting work in front of every single mission, they're gone. Yeah, there was 3 times I played a mission with voice acting during the mission in 6 hours of play today. Story and voice acting is delivered at the campaign map, but very sparingly, and honestly, that is a true shame. The beautiful abilities of Adam Haldwell, Sebastian Abineri, and so many others that worked on this game is truly wasted because you just kind of sit there, listen to it, and move on. You're not listening to it while trying to concentrate on the heat of battle, while trying to make sure you understand everything they said because they're offering good tactical pointers for what you're about to do. They don't give inspiring points to the player. They just rather give orders for objectives and story beats for the campaign mission, and their characterization is wasted because it doesn't exist as far as I can tell so far. I know I only got to play the first sector, but the first sector's really telling and it's supposed to suck me in, and it did the opposite. This creates a very hollow feeling universe. Before, Admiral Ravensburg was talking so much I wanted him to occasionally just shut up. But now, I would beg for him! I would beg for the fleets to taunt each other, or for some direction within this campaign to have story in the missions. If they don't delay this game by months and rework all this, this is a total pass. This is another Dawn of War 3 scenario. Great previous games with so much potential, and then suddenly taken away by both gameplay and game-changing decisions that completely destroy the experience. Play Battlefleet Gothic 1, Stellaris, Endless Space, even Battlestar Galactica Deadlock was better than this. I can't believe I'm saying that, but at least Battlestar Galactica Deadlock had a decent enemy AI for the campaign, and the in-game battle system was very unique and makes the game gripping. Alright, the battles. Oh God, sit down. Just sit down. I hope you're ready for this one. They slowed these down to a crawl. Ships physically move slower, fire slower, deal less damage, and have more hit points. Even battleships slugging into light cruisers can take multiple volleys or an entire minute to kill. Your average battle time with the same number or less ships from Battlefleet Gothic 1 was 7 to 10 minutes. I just played a battle with a battleship, 2 battle cruisers, and 1 light cruiser, and 1 escort ship. And it was 8 minutes and 58 seconds from the time I hit start battle to the time I got to the end battle screen. There's a timer at the top of the screen for me now, and it's 9-10 minutes for a measly 300-point fight in Battlefleet Gothic 2. The campaigns are not only tedious and lack the explosive experience from before, but so do the rams and torpedo volleys. They just feel outright unrewarding.
Yes, Admiral. Yes, Admiral. Your orders. Setting course. Enemy ship sighted. Enemy ship sighted! At your command. Ship ready.
Bones is so
There,
thirsty.
I'll make up for it. I rammed the enemy ship with the flagship.
Ooh.
Does that make you feel better?
So does that mean you flagged them?
In Battlefleet Gothic Armada, if I slammed a target with torpedoes or high-speed ram, they felt it. A full torpedo volley from a battlecruiser followed by a ram could rip a quarter of a ship's health out instantly, or even half of a smaller ship's health out, or destroy it outright if it was an escort. Here, torpedoes could not exist and you wouldn't notice. A full spread of torpedoes can inflict barely half a health bar of damage. Not half the ship's entire health bar. I mean half of one of the little ticks. And that's just bad. And ramming feels anemic. Ships aren't moved and sit spiraling out of control when you ram them. They're just stop and grind on each other for a minute. What? Ramming is supposed to feel epic. It sounds and feels epic in Battlefleet Gothic 1. It sounds epic in Battlefleet Gothic 2. I mean, the sound design's great. And I'll give them credit. That's still amazing, but it feels like you're tapping them. We developed a saying while I was streaming called Casual Ramming Tuesday. That's how bad ramming felt. It was just casually running into your ship. It's fine. It doesn't cause any massive amount of damage, even though there's a massive ramming prow on the front of this vessel. All the ship prices, by the way. Oh boy. So after the first 2 hours, this was just mechanical, and I was completely numb to it. I didn't have much commentary to say, and my stream clearly felt the same way because they weren't excited about it either. We were having to figure out jokes. We were having to figure out how to have a good time with this, and it just wasn't happening. All ship prices, by the way, are increased from the previous beta, and this is a bad thing. They promise us significantly larger battles, not a slight increase to ship numbers, and for the campaign, already the ship battles feel stunted by leadership rating, tied to your renown. I can't start the game and build cruisers. I have to go win battles, and I don't understand the renown system at all because it doesn't detail out what I'm getting renown points for. On top of this, my leadership rating dictates how many ships I can bring into battle, but when it comes up that I have too many ships in the sector for all of them to come into the same battle, I don't get to pick which ships go in. They're randomly assigned. I don't understand why the leadership rating even exists. If I bring 3 fleets to the fight, I should be allowed to throw 3 fleets into the fight. I brought overwhelming mass for a reason. This just feels like you're artificially stunting the battle to give the AI, which is so terrible, a chance to win. With all the ship prices increased, I mean, just all the restrictions placed, all the battles don't feel epic. The retaking of Cadia was supposed to feel like an epic struggle, and it felt like a disappointing last gasp of a dying enemy. I feel like the restrictions between renown and resources and gaining battle, everything, all of the resource management, renown, resource money, planets, buildings, everything is less about getting rewarded for your efforts and more about unlocking restrictions. On top of this, I have no idea how the battle system counts towards renown. Like, without a detailed list telling me what I got renown for, I don't know why I'm getting renown half the time. You slaughter a whole enemy fleet without taking a single loss, 50 renown. You kill the enemy fleet and snake out of victory by a couple points in domination mode. The only mode that is currently available in the campaign, by the way, which was mind-numbing. This had better not be how the actual campaign plays. I know it's hyperbole, but seriously, I played this mode to death. You get 300 renown for the battle I just described. The battle to retake the Cadia sector felt so to retake Cadia itself felt so underwhelming that I wanted to just throw up my hands and quit right then and there. And the ship balance is outright terrible for spite purposes. Playing the Necrons in the campaign mode felt like a child stomping an anthill with a shoe made of flamethrowers. The balance is just one huge joke. I took 2 light cruisers with 2 Necron escorts, facing off against 4 Chaos light cruisers and 2 escorts. They had more points than me, not to mention they had defense platforms. And the battle wasn't, and I won, destroyed their entire fleet with no issue. The battle wasn't one of tactical genius, but rather my ships are so much better than yours that it's pathetic you would fight me. It's like cavemen would put up better fights against the modern military with air support than you. The entire Necron experience just proved how overpowered they have been designed, and Chaos and Imperium were just pathetic. This was just a power gaming experience that doesn't even belong in the hopelessness of the 40k universe. There was no struggle, just me mindlessly clicking the annihilation of everything in my path and laughing about it. Even engaging enemies who had more points than me by 500-600 was just a joke. The AI is terrible. It should have annihilated me, and then I realized not only is the AI terrible, their ships they're using are bad. At one point, I had 3 escorts with 1 cruiser. Not a light cruiser, regular cruiser. Only to discover that cruiser could lightning strike the Chaos escorts and kill their entire crew with 1 lightning strike. In the end, I spent more time wasting turns and fully upgrading the sector for the Necrons instead of valiantly fighting the Chaos forces or having them actually put up a challenge. And this was on the hardest difficulty. Battlefleet Gothic 2 is just one massive step backwards, period. In its current state, this is not only a wait and see, but a flat out do not buy. I was one of this game's biggest hype builders and supporters because we know that TDLOs can put out so much better from having played Battlefleet Gothic 1, but here we have it, a terrible sequel that takes away so many elements of the first game and tries to slap together something for a sequel that is just painful and awful. The multiplayer is lackluster and easy to build counter for counter to each other's fleets. You get beat once and you just build a direct counter and then defeat your opponent. The ladder system and the elite system faced in the AI of the previous game with increasing challenge is just gone. The campaign is a hollow shell of domination mission after domination mission for this beta, and I'm sick of domination missions. Give me something else and give me more campaign to play. Let me play the fucking Tyranny campaign at least to see if there's some saving grace. I get this isn't a game review. I get this is my thoughts on the beta, and my thoughts on the beta right now are don't buy this game. This is trash. This is awful. You play against an AI that doesn't even understand how to play these missions. It just mindlessly tries to claim the objectives, which allows for easy manipulation and annihilation of their entire fleet. Meanwhile, the core aspects that made Battlefleet Gothic 1 unique and fun, like Port-Mall ship experience and favor system, which while these made small differences, it created a unique feel for each fleet and could drastically alter your playstyle for that faction and its fleet if they're all, I don't know, Adeptus Astartes Imperial warships, or if they're all Slanesh-based Chaos warships. You can at least theme your fleet together and make that theming matter. Here, you just pick a faction and it's that faction, and the theming doesn't make a damn bit of difference. And while these small differences weren't massive, they did change how you played. All you had to do here was just make it where we could refund the ship and everything we'd spent on it and change it out and transfer the crew and XP to new ships, and we could easily switch between ships and just make it kind of fun. Instead, we're given a hollow XP system that doesn't matter and gives insignificant bonuses saved for critical rating and no customization for our vessels whatsoever. Even special abilities are no longer on every ship, but only on the Fleet Admiral ships, and you only get 2 of them. Kill me. Furthermore, limiting all abilities of every single ship to 3 is just bad. Straight up. Not to mention the fact the Necrons outboard the Space Marines. It was fucking hilarious. But the Necrons actually win boarding actions against the Space Marine. Will beat a Space Marine boarding fleet. It's goddamn funny as fuck. But anyway. Yeah, this is just bad. I constantly found myself late battle being out of torpedoes and out of fighter craft and out of boarding actions and just sitting there doing this. Waiting for my ships to kill the last of the enemy ships via a slugging match that I could do nothing about. And do nothing to really influence or change how it was playing out. Occasionally just reminding them to move closer where their weapons would be more effective. The specials really don't matter late game, late battle, because you are just out of them. Unless you've very carefully managed your fighters and bombers to make sure you still have a few and are carefully taking the time to rip off the enemy turrets so that your fighters and bombers will come back and rearm. Oh, and one last thing. I don't know how you could possibly screw this up from Battlefleet 1, but the mouse doesn't lock in the game window when you're in windowed mode. In 1 it did, in 2 it doesn't. There's your summary. This game sucks. Flat out. The beta that I have played so far is just bad. The all-star voice acting and excellent use of story elements cannot save it at all. Again, this is not a review. This is just telling you my beta experience. This has been Fiaura. I'll see you guys later. Hey guys, so that was scathing and heartbreaking and terrible. Reminder, I am live tonight on Twitch with Fallout Equestria, and we will be live Sunday with Battletech RPG, a new RPG, and my book is coming out. Also, here's previous review for you guys. I made sure it was a positive one. And I'll see you guys on Thursday and Friday for World of Warships and Drunk Stream on Saturday night. Anyway, good night everybody.